Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I have my 5 takeaway series covering 5 Dynasty topics. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, we had one really big piece of news. Derek Carr retired, leaving Tyler Shough as the Saints' likely Week 1 starter. So, Carr retired this weekend, leaving a massive void for the Saints at quarterbacks. They have Shough, Spencer Rattler, and Jake Haener. Now, could they bring in someone else as a veteran backup, maybe a Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, someone unwanted by the Browns or something? Sure. I do think that the Saints are so obviously bad. And I think with Derek Carr retiring, the Saints are not going to be good. So I think Shough is going to be the Week 1 starter. He played for 7 years in college. If he's not ready now, when is he going to be ready? You might as well start him. Now, he went with a 40th overall pick in the second round. Now, players in that capital range sometimes start Week 1. I mean, Derek Carr himself was a second-round pick, I believe. Andy Dalton was a second-round pick. So it's happened before. I didn't have Shough rated anywhere near this high. The NFL was way, way more in on him than I was. I thought he was, to be honest, bad, but whatever. He only played one full season as a starter last year, 12 games, 62.7% completion, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 8.2 yards per attempt, 266.3 passing yards a game, and 42 carries, 19 yards touchdown. Now, remember, the sack yardage counts negative, so those rushing numbers are not as bad as they look, but it's still not great. He wasn't even that good last year. He was fine, but I don't know. He spent 6 previous years in college being a backup, being hurt multiple times. He offers minimal rushing upside. So in summary, I don't get it. I don't get what they're seeing. They have to be seeing something that I don't see. I don't know what that is. Now, let's talk about what we do here. I recommended drafting Tyler Shough when he was going at 304 or whatever for this exact situation. I told you, if you'd been on the Patreon, you'd know, I've been talking about this for a long time, that Carr was hurt and would likely miss most or all of 2025. What shocked me is not that Carr is not going to be ready Week 1 or is not going to play in 2025. What shocked me is that Carr just retired. I thought Carr was going to come back, be cut by the Saints next offseason, and play for another team in 2026. That is shocking to me. I expected him to continue his career. He only would have been 35 next year. What's not shocking is that Carr is not going to play for the Saints again. That is not surprising. So if that surprised you, you weren't paying attention. But regardless, if you've already drafted Shough, you should put him on the block right now. Because if someone is offering you Shough plus a little piece for 26 first, I'd do it. I have zero, and I mean zero, belief in Tyler Shough as a long-term quarterback option. Am I fine taking him where I have him ranked in the mid-second? Sure. In Superflex, fine. Is he worth the 26 first? Absolutely not. So that's what you do in this situation. Now, my next takeaway, not really based on any news. I did like seeing Jack Bech at Raiders rookie minicamp. He looked like he was doing well. I think he's going to be an immediate impact player. Now, the Raiders selected him with a 58th overall pick, second-round pick. They spent good draft capital on me. He was the 8th wide receiver taken, kind of ahead of where I had him. I was a little meh on Jack Bech. I haven't talked about Jack Bech because Jack Bech is not really a sleeper. He's not really a buy, and he's not really a sell. He's going exactly where I have him ranked in rookie draft. So there just hasn't been anything to say about him. That's why I chose him for this video, because I want to talk about him. He joins the depth chart with Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and fellow rookie Dante Thornton. Put it this way. Trey Tucker was 2 regimes ago and has been terrible. I mean, there's been many general managers, many coaches since Trey Tucker was drafted, and he's been bad. So you can forget about him. Dante Thornton, I mean, maybe. He's a developmental prospect. I actually think he might be the wide receiver 3 over Tucker if I had to choose. They have Michael Mayer to play some 12 personnel, but Myers and Bech are going to be the top 2 wide receivers. I think as of Week 1, I don't really see what the alternative is, unless they sign a veteran. We'd see. But to me, Jack Bech, there's not much actionable with him. That's why he hasn't been talked about yet. What I do think is actionable is I would consider cashing out on Jacoby Myers now. I don't think I want to see it. Last year was Jacoby Myers' best year. He averaged 5.8 catches and 68.5 yards a game. Now, What's more likely with Jakobi Meyers? That in his age 28 season, he magically became a lot better? Or is it that Davante Adams was traded and, he did a little bit better on the opportunity he had, and his previous 5 years of his career is more accurate to what he really is? Which of those two sounds more likely to you? Probably that the previous career is more representative of Jakobi Meyers. So I would look into selling Jakobi Meyers. I think you can get a second now. I mean, he's 28. You're not going to ever get more. I'd consider moving on while you still can. I'm not sure that Jakobi Meyers is going to be as productive as he was. The Raiders have Ashton Genty. They're going to run the ball a lot more than they did last year. I think Jakobi Meyers, he might be fine, but I don't think you're going to be able to reliably start Jakobi Meyers in 2025 like you did in 2024. I think 2025 goes back to more of what we had before 2024, where he was low-end wide receiver 3 type. Now, my next topic. The Cowboys failed to find a starting running back this offseason. So they drafted Jaden Blue in the 5th round. I went through Jaden Blue as a previous rookie sell. He's a nice change of pace back. I'm not going to rehash everything I talked about on the video. It's on the channel. But I'm not going to rehash all of it. But there is no way that Blue can be a true NFL starter. I don't care how bad Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are, and they are bad. Jaden Blue is not a starter. This is not Bucky Irving. Those people who are telling you, oh, well, Jaden Blue could be the next Bucky Irving. No way. No way. He doesn't have the college production. He's nowhere near the type of prospect. No way. I'm sorry. There's just no way. So I don't see it. And I'm not a big fan of Jaden Blue. He's overpriced. I'll have 0 Jaden Blue. Happy to bet against him because he's just, I'm seeing a change of pace guy. And I don't want to draft that in the 2nd round of rookie draft. I'm sorry. Now, the other guys, they are bad. Javonte Williams, 139 carries, 513 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3.7 yards a carry, 52 catches, 346 yards. I mean, as a pass catcher, he was fine. On the ground, bad. Miles Sanders, 55 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.7 yards a carry, 24 catches, 148 yards, and touchdown. He did show something at the end of the year, but he's a backup. Miles Sanders at this point is a backup. I'm not even confident Sanders is going to make the team because they have Phil Maffa, who they also drafted. Maybe he'll compete. But this team is going to have 3 running backs who are going to get some time, at least to start. Now, what's the move? I'm fading the entire group. Why is that? There are 32 NFL teams. So there are going to be some teams that don't have a top 30 running back. There have to be. There's 32 NFL teams, only 30 top 30 running backs. There's on a given week, I do start sit rankings only on the Patreon, but I do that. It's one of the things I've been doing for many years. There's about 24, 25 startable running backs. So there are going to be some teams that don't have one. The Broncos were that team last year. The Broncos never had a running back you could trust. Never. Not Javonte Williams, not Jaleel McLaughlin, not Audric Estime. You could not trust any of those players ever. This feels like that team again. This feels like that team that has the running backs that you cannot trust. Blue is the most overpriced, but Williams is also getting propped up in places. Overpriced. I'll pass. I don't want these guys. I'm happy to sell them. These are not the types of players I'm targeting, and I'm just out. I'm out, and maybe they'll still sign J.K. Dobbins, and I can tell you if they did, J.K. Dobbins is infinitely better than any of the 3 players that they have. Maybe then I'd consider being in on J.K. Dobbins, but I'm not going to be in on any of these players pretty much no matter what because they're all overpriced. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. You would have known about drafting Tyler Shough in advance if you'd done that. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT. Type that code in at checkout and click on the link in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. Type that code in, you'll get 50% off your first month. You can get my Dynasty and rookie rankings, all my rookie content, access to Discord, all my write-ups, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask and advance questions for YouTube videos. I also do roster reviews on the Patreon. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with discount. you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my why you should join the Patreon videos on the channel. And basically, you know, the YouTube content I do on here is not going to change. There's not going to be more. It's not going to change in what it is. If you want something else, that's only going to be available on the Patreon. I'm not going to do start sit content on the YouTube. I'm not going to do additional video types on the YouTube. I'm open to doing that on the Patreon, but on the YouTube, I'm going to stick to what works in the algorithm, stick to what is succeeding and what brings in patrons, which are the videos that I currently offer. So, I'll do more on the Patreon. Now, I really hope to see more people in there. It's been very active during rookie season. Very, very active. Actually, a little overwhelmingly active, I will say. Which is a good thing, of course, that it's overwhelming with interaction. As platforms like Twitter continue to decline and, people go over to Blue Sky, which, posts have one comment a week, I would suggest jumping in on the Patreon if you want interaction from a smart Dynasty analyst like me. And you're watching, so you must have some interest in my content. With that said, I'll move into my next topic. So the Packers wide receiver group, I find it to be a little bit bizarre. It's just weird. They made some weird moves in the NFL draft. Now, they drafted Matthew Golden in round 1 with the 23rd overall pick. Now, I will say, I think we all know, maybe you don't know, I don't know if I've talked much about Golden on here, that I don't love Golden as a prospect. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. Obviously, the Packers think differently. They wouldn't have drafted him in round 1 if they didn't see him that way. So they spent a first rounder to try to get someone to stand above kind of the malaise that they've had. They tried with Christian Watson. That didn't work out as a wide receiver 1. Then they tried with Jaden Reed to use him as a wide receiver 1 in a different way. That didn't work out. So now they're trying Matthew Golden. But then they made kind of a weird move. They drafted Savion Williams in round 3 with the 87th overall pick. Now, this one I don't get. I don't really get why they did this. It's kind of a duplicative move. Williams is a hybrid type receiver. Reminds me a lot of Jaden Reed. The two players are very different in size. That is something different. But in terms of their usage, they do have a lot of similarities. We have to acknowledge that. In Williams' final college season, 60 catches, 611 yards, 6 touchdowns, 50.9 receiving yards a game, 51 carries, 322 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, we see almost as many carries as catches. Who does that remind us of? Jaden Reed. Now, it's a dual threat, running and receiving. I will emphasize, Williams and Reed are not the same player. Williams is bigger. Some people are comparing Williams to Deebo Samuel. That would be a miracle if Williams were that good. He's not that good of a prospect. He hasn't shown any type of production like Deebo Samuel. So we haven't seen that. So I don't know about that comp, but whatever. That's what people are saying. I'm not exactly sure what the point is of Savion Williams. The Jaden Reed role is taken by Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed is a second-round pick who's been productive, who has 2 years left on his rookie deal. Williams is not really ready to be an X receiver at the NFL level. He's not better than Romeo Doubs today. So I don't even know. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with Savion Williams. Now, for me, I'm fine drafting Golden at his discounted cost. If you generally, in fantasy football, just in general, if you're getting a first-round NFL wide receiver in round 2 of a Superflex rookie draft, that's generally a good idea. But what I don't like is bothering with these types of third-round wide receivers. Third-round wide receivers can be hit or miss. You get the guys who have kind of a role from week 1. What I don't want to do generally is draft the third-round wide receivers like Williams where I don't see a path to an instant role. I don't want to wait for them to sit and then come in later. I just don't want a wide receiver enough to wait. And I don't see what the path is for Savion Williams. He's not going to be this team's wide receiver 1. Or honestly, I don't even see him ever being a wide receiver 2. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the game that we played with the Ravens with Marquise Brown and Miles Boykin. People are saying, oh, well, Miles Boykin is a better value than Hollywood Brown. I mean, it didn't work out. I don't like drafting these wide receivers where I feel like I have to wait. For a second-round wide receiver, maybe. But like for a third-round wide receiver, no. I'll take a running back. I'll take someone else, anyone else, and pass on Savion Williams. I'm not that into the prospect anyway. So just no reason. If he'd gone to a team where there was a path to a week 1 starting role, maybe I'd consider him. Not on this team. Last takeaway, and this is more general. consider buying veteran running backs who received competition but weren't completely replaced. So pre-NFL draft, I recommended selling a lot of running backs because of the strong 2025 running back class. And a lot of running backs lost a lot of value. There were a couple that were just detonated. Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. Those two, value eliminated. Najee Harris by Amari Hampton, Ramondre Stevenson by Trevion Henderson. Those were two of my biggest pre-draft sales, especially Najee Harris. I'm not recommending buying those guys. I'm not recommending chasing the other guys like in the Denver backfield. I don't like those guys. There's obviously no one in the Raiders backfield that's worth buying. And yeah, I'm not chasing those guys. But the guys that I am kind of looking at are the ones who were added competition, but not replaced entirely. So who are those guys? Tyrone Tracy, Kyron Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Jalen Warren, and Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby. After the value dip that they've had, all of these players had someone added who matters, but does not have the draft capital to really dictate that they're going to take their job. A lot of these players were hard sales pre-draft, especially Tyrone Tracy and Jalen Warren, because I was very, very confident that those teams would add someone. Now they're going dirt cheap. Tyrone Tracy? I don't know. I mean, what are the odds that Tyrone Tracy is still the starter over Cam Skattebo? Cam Skattebo went in the 4th round. I mean, the odds are against the 4th rounder. Tyrone Tracy was already good in the NFL. So what's the worst case scenario? 45% chance that Tracy's still the starter? 45, 50% chance? I didn't want to buy Tyrone Tracy before, but now I do. So what's kind of the takeaway here? Buys and sells are 90% based on price, not player takes, but price. You couldn't get me to even consider buying Jalen Warren before. Why? Because I was beyond confident that the Steelers were not going to go into their season with Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell as their only running backs. Now that Jalen Warren is, a lot of people say he's completely irrelevant. If I could have Jalen Warren for a late 3rd, okay, maybe that I would do. You know, this is just kind of what I'm talking about. It's all about price. You want to sell higher and buy lower. That's why maybe now these guys could be cheap. Just something to consider as you're in rookie drafts. And the best time to buy these guys is, of course, with picks on the clock when people are most hyped for those rookie picks. So we got a few Patreon questions, and then we'll wrap up the show. The 2026 class is widely regarded by being weak. Okay. At what point should we acknowledge the weakness of the class and look to move those for vets or 2027 picks? Oh, well, I almost don't want to answer this question and give it away on the YouTube, but this is like, this is silly. It's silly. It's always been silly. What happened this year? No one liked this class, right? But then when you're in the rookie draft, people still want to trade for the picks. They still do. Every single time. I had one rookie draft where I had 23 picks and made 4. Why? Because I traded them all away. So on the clock. So never, ever. And do not move them for 2027 picks in advance. You can do that on the clock if you want every single time. So this is silliness. This is silliness. Don't think this way. People telling you to think this way, just delete them, ignore them, and follow me instead. Join my Patreon instead of theirs because they have no idea what they're talking about. Can you rate these backup quarterbacks on the possibility they get a starting job either this year or next? Jameis Winston, Will Levis, Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins. Will Levis, 0. Mac Jones, if Brock Purdy gets injured and he gets a chance to play, maybe. Kenny Pickett, no. Zach Wilson, no. No. The only one here that I think is even relatively likely is Kirk Cousins. But that would require him to be traded. And then, yeah, otherwise, I'm good on these guys. Miami offense thoughts if Tua stays healthy? I think the offense will be decent. But I do think Tyreek Hill is not going back to what he was before. Devon Achane, I think, could still be good. And Jalen Waddle, I think, could be a value. Jonnu Smith, I'm probably going to fade. felt kind of like lightning in a bottle, and lightning doesn't usually strike twice. But I do think the offense could be pretty good. But yeah, in terms of Tyreek going back to what he was before, no. And in terms of, yeah, Jonnu Smith, probably not. Aaron Jones versus Jordan Mason split. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, they're the only two relevant running backs on the team. I think they're going to share work. I think that if I had to pick one to start week 1, it would be Aaron Jones. I think if both stay healthy, that neither are going to be a top 15 running back. I do think this is a team that could have 2 top 30 running backs. It wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, again, if I had to pick one to start, it would be Aaron Jones. But is this going to be a backfield that I'm chasing in redraft? I doubt it. Is it a backfield I'm chasing in Dynasty? Probably only Mason if he's cheaper. And in redraft, again, probably only Mason. Jones will probably be too expensive. How much? So speaking of redraft, how much do you consider redraft ranking into Dynasty rankings? That's way too complicated of a question to answer on a YouTube video. That you do a whole video just on that question. I mean, yes, it matters, of course, but how exactly that works is not something that can be covered in a 1-minute answer. The short answer is yes, it's important. Of course, it's probably the biggest single factor, but it's one of many factors. I mean, age, future, stuff like that. But yeah, for an older player, it matters more. I will tell you that. If I can tell you that if you're old and you're not ranked as a difference maker, you're not going to be high in my Dynasty rankings. I'm willing to accept it for league winners, but not for older players that are just okay. Maybe that helps. I think that's a good one little perspective into my thinking without going through all of it. Because yeah, this is an hour answer. Player you want to sell before you see it in season, player you want to buy in season before it's too late. Oh, I mean, the player I want to sell is Joe Mixon because Joe Mixon has always been bad. I mean, Joe Mixon is always bad, yet continues to get the volume. One day the volume will go away and Joe Mixon's value will go away with it. So I'm good on Joe Mixon. I don't want Joe Mixon. He looked kind of wore down the stretch. I'll pass. Player I want to buy before in season. I think Josh Downs is still going to be good. Josh Downs has been good in his 2 years in the NFL. I think people are saying, well, it's impossible for Josh Downs to be good because the situation is bad. And not so. We know good players can still be good even if the situation is bad. I would almost say Tyler Warren by that same token. It's just harder to buy him. Those are a couple of players. I also do think Jerry Jeudy is still going to be good. I'm not worried about Deontay Johnson, who is totally washed up, stopping Jerry Jeudy from being good. I'm not worried about, I mean, Jerry Jeudy looked really good last year. And Jerry Jeudy, it's not like he was bad before that. Jerry Jeudy went from good to very good. I think Jerry Jeudy is going to continue to be good. And I think people are just forgetting that last season happened or saying it's all because of Jameis Winston when he continued to earn the targets, even when non-Winston quarterbacks played. So that might be a player I'm actually interested in buying. Not my usual type, Jerry Jeudy, but could be a good player to buy on the cheap before people kind of remember how many fantasy points he put up. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing and don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty, rookie, I mean, I do redraft and start sit on there and only on there year round. 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT. Every sign up helps support my independent content, keeps this YouTube channel going. But once again, I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you all later.